Okay. Well, that sucked. Episode 9, right?
9A.
9. We did this once, and somebody didn't turn their microphone on.
I wonder
We will not mention
that it was
who
Thomas.
Well, okay, I guess we will mention who it was. Thank you very much.
So now we will be talking very close into the microphones.
So we put them up a little higher. We're going to speak a little louder and a little clearer, hopefully. And
We turned Thomas's on.
we turned them on. So it was a really good one that you guys should have all watched and just been part of.
Have lots of thumbs up on the YouTube channel on that one.
Yes, but we're going to try it again. It's not going to be as impromptu because I kind of threw it out there completely unprepared for Amber, so it kind of caught her off guard. But maybe she can pretend to wipe it away and forget about it.
You should know by now that I remember everything. Everything.
Yes, absolutely. Boy, these lights are not great on the face too. Our video and all audio quality are something we can need to improve over the next little while. Okay.
Hey, Annie. For Mother's Day, buy us some ring light. Just kidding, I have one. Just never turned on.
It's amazing how much amazing technology we have, and yet we're using a phone in a car with some.
Our best technology is our
microphones, which we forgot to turn on. Okay, let's get to the question, because this is the last time it took us 15 minutes. We got to go shorter. Okay. All right. So here's the question. Hypothetically, just hypothetically speaking. So any of my coworkers that may ever watch this is not true. This is just a hypothetical. Hypothetically speaking, let's say I have a coworker, and they always seem to come and try to talk to me and ask me questions when I'm in the middle of something else. They don't notice that I'm in the middle of it. I'm sitting there working, trying to get some things done on deadlines, and they're always like, "Hey, I just need a really quick question. Can you do this? Can you ask me this? Or can you do this really quick?" And so it's driving me nuts. They should know. It's obvious that I'm working there. These are things that they should actually know how to do, but they don't. So what's your advice that I should do? Should I get mad at them? Should I just suck it up and just pretend and then come home and vent to my wife? Or should I talk to their boss? Or what should I do?
Well, usually you're the boss at that point, but no, I get it. Okay, so you answered my first question. Have they been educated in knowing how to solve this problem?
Yeah, I listened last time. So yeah.
That I said you answered my questions. Okay. See, there we go. So my answer last time was to put the responsibility a little bit back on them by saying something like, what do you think we should do? Or what do you think a good solution would be? Or what are your suggestions to solve this problem? And then if he answers that he doesn't know and that's why he's asking you, then you could still kind of like keep that responsibility on him by saying something like, how do you think we could find out how to figure this out? Like, is there a handbook we could look at? Or so then both times, instead of just jumping in and answering it and teaching him that he can come to you and you'll quickly take care of his problem, you're teaching him that eventually you'll help if he absolutely is needing it, but that he probably already knows. Actually, one of my therapy books, I don't even know which one anymore, one of my classes talked about the importance of empathy, because a big percentage of the time people already know what solution they're thinking of doing and they just want to hear it said and empathized with. So I don't know if that works in a situation like this, but he might already know how it needs to be solved, and he just needs to have that kind of like responsibility put back on his shoulders. If he already knows it's his responsibility. And then if he still doesn't know, then you could say, I'm right in the middle of something right now. Maybe go see if you can't figure it out for the next 20 minutes, and then I can come over and help you for 20 minutes. Like, you're setting a deadline, you're setting a time frame that he can go work on it, and then you're setting a time where or you're telling them you're willing to help, but here's this time constraint, sort of.
Postpone a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So if you're asking me for something, do I get to do the same thing? Postpone it for a while?
Mm-hmm. You do.
No.
We'll see how that turns out. We have a lovely bed in the basement.
So I also asked you if you thought you were ever that person. You ever do that? What did you say?
I said I don't think I am that person. Marlise, what do you think? I know you and Dave watch these. But I was what I said is that my responsibilities for my new job, I haven't very often worked for somebody else. I worked for myself for the last 20 years. And I did work for my dad. And if I went and told my dad, said something to my dad like, I don't know how to do this, and he knew he had already told me how to do it, he wouldn't step in. He'd be like, you already know how to do it. You go figure it out. So with my job responsibility now, I was saying that I pretty much have down pat, I think, everything within my responsibility level. And I've been trying I've worked there now for 8.5 months. I've been trying to like expand the things that I know how to do. I try to ask questions about things that aren't necessarily within my responsibility, but with things that I already know how to do, I don't think I am that person.
It could be more than work, right? But I guess my answer to that was, I think I find myself being that person. That even though I may be able to figure out something out, I'll go and ask somebody else just because it's a lot easier and it's a lot simpler. And if I'm like, okay, I have to do this step and this step and this step to figure it out, but that person already knows.
Is busy too.
But yeah, I don't think I'm only looking at it from my perspective. My priority is to get this done. And I think, well, that person, I'm sure it's fine. It's not a big deal. I'll just go on.
When I mentioned Bishop Corbett, when I was Relief Society president in our student ward, and it was my first time in like a leadership position like that. And I would go to him with a question, and instead of just answering my question, he would say, well, let's see what the handbook has to say about that. And then he would pull out the old-fashioned, because you didn't have an app, but he'd pull out his handbook that was sitting on his desk, and he would, flip through the page and find it. And together we'd solve the problem, or, see the guidelines on that question. And it taught me not only that he was interested in helping me, but that it taught me how to figure out where to go for questions. So I was saying, like, our stake president was out of town for a while, and if you needed something, he wouldn't have been accessible. So if there was a time when Bishop Corbett wasn't accessible, he had set me up the tools to know if there was a problem, where to go to find the solution, instead of just always answering my question. He always answered it, but like helped me. Yeah.
It's guiding someone to the answer, which is a hard thing to do. I think it's actually much harder to do that than just answering the question.
Mm-hmm. Sometimes it's easier just to solve it and get it, especially if it's one really quick and really fast. It's easier just to solve it and be done with it.
I don't know how we got on the subject of Excel.
I don't know how anybody ever gets on the subject of Excel.
Excel is awesome. But there's times where either Excel or other things on the computer, you would ask me questions, and I would frustrate you quite a bit by
pushing me out of my chair.
Talked about this last time. We already agreed.
You really should have watched the first episode. It was great.
I never pushed you out of the way. I just said, hey, let me see this.
Do this. Sorry, go ahead. Continue.
I think we discovered that maybe we interpreted things different. What I was thinking I was saying was, I don't know how to exactly do that, but I think I can figure it out if I can kind of work the computer, and then I can show you how to do it after I figured it out. But all of that goes in my mind, but instead what comes out here, let me see the mouse for a second. And that's all I ever say. And so I wasn't explaining that I had a process to try to figure it out, because even though maybe I knew some things about it I had never actually worked with that exact question. And so I had a process to figure that out. And then we also talked about that sometimes you figuring out a problem and solving a problem in front of someone is very different than just doing it yourself. Because when you're doing it by yourself, I think you don't see the mistake. You see the mistakes. You brought that up. You see the mistakes, but you don't see them as negative things. If you're doing it in front of someone, you make a mistake, then you're very conscious of that, whether or not the other person is. I don't know. Maybe when you see somebody kind of struggling, do you see that as a weakness that they're trying to figure it out, or not?
Honestly, my thought process is they should have figured that out before they tried to present it to somebody. Like
exactly, yeah. That's
some of my teachers or my professors on Zoom. I'm just like, you should have tested that before you did a live Zoom class on it. Yeah.
I had a math teacher, Mrs. Powers. She would turn the whole classroom, turn off the lights, and then had an overhead projector.
Which, for those that don't know it,
I was going to say, for those of you younger than the 2000s, it was like a projector, but you just put a plastic paper or something like that, and then it would project it up. But she would literally, instead of writing on the board, she would just sit there at that projector and write all the questions down. And inevitably, because she was solving these long algebra questions, she'd mix up a number or something like that. She was just a little bit of kind of airheady that way. And so I'm like, Mrs. Powers, you missed this number. Pretty soon I started getting other students would give me a hard time about it. So I stopped correcting her. And then we'd go through the whole problem. At the end, it didn't work. And so then she'd spend 20 minutes trying to find her problem. She'd find it, and then she'd look up and say, Thomas, why didn't you find that for me? So I still got crap. But yes, make sure you work out problems beforehand. But I think that that's a natural thing. And I think, like I said, when we're working on our own, it's a good process. It's good to work that out. And if somebody hands you, hey, here's the solution worked out for you, as nice and convenient as that is, it's actually problematic because all that steps on the way you missed. And you don't see the benefit of it. You didn't learn all those things along the way. And I think sometimes we think that, like you said, every person should have figured it out ahead of time. And yeah, to save a lot of time, but there's some learning in that. And that's a challenge. And so I think we don't value that learning process, that struggling process. Instead, and I find myself doing this all the time. Oh, let me just show you, and then you don't have to struggle for it. Because watching someone else struggle is uncomfortable. Maybe that's why I always wanted to just take over that. I didn't want to be uncomfortable watching you struggle figure it out. Not that you would have struggled.
Not sure how to take that. Just give me the mouse. I just can't with you anymore.
It's not what it is.
Okay.
At all. Okay.
Finito. No.
Well,
what did we decide it was?
Yeah, we don't know.
El finito.
El finito. Not the right word.
El video es finito.
That was a whole other thing. So I apologize that you guys didn't get the better version of this.
It was amazing.
But the sound quality was horrible. It was kind of like, what's that movie from where you hear it?
Oh, people don't. People don't.
Oh, yes. Yes. Singing in the Rain. That's awesome. Perfect. See?
Most people don't know that movie.
Very good movie. See,
pre-1950s.
Before another one, we were quoting National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. This one, we're quoting a better movie.
In the comments below, we're going to take a vote.
Movies, Singing in the Rain, or National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. So, Singing in the Rain is obviously.
That's what it was. You serious, Clark?
Okay.
Singing in the Rain? National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation.
All right.
Okay.
Thanks, everybody.